Hey ladies, welcome back to another episode of Woman Enough Podcast. We're so happy to see you back. I hope you did get a chance to check out last week's episode. If not, what are you doing? First of all, where my ladies at? Where my ladies at? Okay. So we did think that it would be interesting for this episode to dive into how nationality shaped you as a woman. Last week we did talk about how our childhood shaped us as a woman. So we're going to get into this. First of all, I'm Brittany. I am mixed. We'll get into that later because it's the whole shebang to that. But Julie.
I'm Julie. I am Puerto Rican.
Okay, and my name is Michaela, and I am Haitian American.
Thank you, ladies. We got a whole different
mix.
If you want to say it.
We are a mix.
Yeah. So, Julie, why don't you go ahead and dive into our first topic?
All right. So we're talking about how our nationality shaped us into a woman. So my first question to you ladies is, how did your nationality affect you growing up? So it kind of ties into how it shaped you as a woman as well. So Michaela, did you want to answer first?
I'd love to. I'd be happy to. I think, so like I said before, y'all, I am a Haitian American. My parents came here to this country from Haiti at a very young age. I believe my dad was 18 years old and my mom was about 8 years old. So even their different experiences on when they came to this country is different too. So, you know, them growing up in a different country than America and basically having to fight and be a little bit, having to work harder than other people that they grew up with because they were given a different privilege that all of us were born into. You know what I mean? When you're born on American soil and things like that, we don't even realize how privileged we are. So growing up in a Haitian household was definitely different. It was pretty strict. Your parents definitely have a lot of expectations of you. And I think a lot of other, not even just Haitian kids, but just kids whose family come from an island, period, can definitely relate in the fact that your parents expect things from you. They expect for you to work hard because they're not from here and they had to fight their way for us to have the same liberties and privileges that we have. So it was a lot of pressures of just not trying to be perfect, but to always be their dream. I don't know if you guys understand. So it's like, because I wasn't able to do this, I expect for my kids to act A, Y, and Z. In a lot of ways, I'm like, damn, how is this possible when I'm a kid and I'm trying to figure out the world the same way that you were? So it's just like, it was definitely strict. Couldn't go to people's houses. If anyone wanted to come over, they're like, oh, so why can't they come over your house? And Haitians always have this upagekai. That means you don't have a home. Every time you ask to go to somebody else's house, they ask, do you have a home? And I'm like, what? Of course we have a home. Like you pay the mortgage here. Of course we have a home. But Haitian parents always want to keep their kids close. Like even in growing up, like a Haitian parent will let you live with them to the age of 40 if you allow it. You know what I mean? Because they just really believe in keeping their kids close knit. And I think that kind of affected me growing up because I wanted to spread my wings. I wanted to fly. But then I had my parents who were like kind of the biggest barrier in me growing up and being the woman that I am. But I appreciate them because being in a Haitian culture allowed me to realize, like, so when I did go to other people's house, I'm like, what
live like this? You living like this?
Yeah, not even do you live like this, but it's like you're allowed to talk to your parents this way, or you're allowed to say that, you're allowed to do that. So it just like kind of put it in a new perspective for me because my parents did not play that. So I'm glad that, you know, I was raised with some kind of structure because I definitely see how having no structure in your family and when your parents let you do whatever, how it affects people growing up, because usually that's the chaos, you know, the chaos that we see in our generation right now is from a lot of misguided children. And you can just tell. So I appreciate my Haitian culture, but at times I was like, dang.
I think you have that as a child already, because not only are you growing up like under a different like now you're a child still, so not only do you have rules already, now you also have how your parents were raising their kids the way that their parents raised them, so you had it a little rougher than the normal child. So now only any child feels like that already, so it's normal. And then when you get older, it's normal. It's also normal to start to realize, like, yo, I appreciate that, because I could have been out here wilding right now. Like, I could have been out here doing crazy stuff. So
fact. And I was still, getting lit, but no one knew about it. You feel me?
right,
They couldn't know about
normal.
it.
That's what a child does. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shout out to all my zoos, all my Haitians. Okay, because I definitely feel y'all in the childhoods that we grew up in. But Britt, tell us about your childhood and what that looked like growing up as a mixed kid. And what makes you mixed? Like, what are you? Tell us.
I'm a mutt. I always thought I was black and white, obviously, but I always knew that I had different sides to me. My dad always, growing up, listening to Jamaican music, and everyone would be like, oh, your dad's Jamaican. No one believed him because my dad is, I'm not going to get into that. But I did do my own ancestry DNA. I am Jamaican. I'm Cuban. I have Portuguese. I'm Arab, all them different things. So I didn't grow up in none of my parents, like, came from an island, or they came right here, Utica, down south. I mean, probably, if I met more of my family, I would have run into those, but there's a lot of situations that took place in my life that I wasn't able to have that luxury. So I grew up in a typical household. I mean, like I said before, as a kid, being, my mom wasn't too strict. I think my mom had a lot of guilt because she was a single mother, and, I grew up by myself. I had brothers and sisters from my father, and I have a brother from her, but my mom was very young when she had him, so he was staying with my grandmother. So it was like, I think she had a lot of guilt. So she did let me have a little free reign. And when I say a little, that means like go out and play in front of the house, type shit, type thing. I always was glued to her hip anyway, so it's not like I was running off wild and free. So watching her, I think, and being with her all the time did help me grow up a little earlier than most. I was a lot more mature than I was expected to be, because I was glued to my mother's hip, which I love. I feel like I do wish I had more of a childhood, because my childhood was chaotic, but growing up the way I did grow up, like you said before, I could have been in a whole lot of stuff. Like, my mom growing up was in a whole bunch of stuff, and that also stemmed from because she not only was wild, but she chose to go a different path. And by a different path, I mean she chose Black men. If you let that sink in. My grandmother wasn't the issue, and that's how it was back then. So, my mom had no choice but to learn things on her own, and that's how I came about. So like I said, I never had a like certain way of growing up. I just couldn't do certain things. I had to be inside at certain times. I couldn't hang out with certain people, and my mom was the same way. Like, they can come to my house, because that way she has, not, I don't want to say control, but that way she knows I'm okay. She knows I'm not getting into issues. And that kind of went up until I was a teenager, and then I started, lying about where I am, and I'm at her house, she's at my house. And, yeah. And then, I think from there, once you're at that point of you're at a certain age, they start to kind of give you some leniency. And to me, I kind of wish she didn't. And I think she only did that again because she felt guilty. And I feel like that's my fault as well, because I have the utmost respect for my mom, but as a child, you don't understand certain things. So when you think of, okay, why is my dad not in the picture? You automatically, even though you know it's not your mom's fault, that anger comes out towards her. So now she feels like, okay, I'm losing my daughter. I got to do something. I got to let her have some type of fun, or I got to let her enjoy some type of her childhood, or, you know, the little bit that she has left. But at the same time, I have to teach her that this world is not what I see it. And so I wish she would have cradled me a little longer, because I didn't see it how I thought I you know, I was mature, but I wasn't as mature as I thought I was. So I don't know. Shout
I
out to my
feel
mom.
that.
She did what she did, and I'm not mad at her. I love her, and I think she did a great job, because honestly, even if she was super strict on me, I think I still would have been, you know, sneaking out the house. I never snuck out the house though. Never. I never stole my mom a car. Like, I've been listening to some people tell their stories. They stole their mom car.
Right.
They stole their credit card. I'm like, you did what? And
I can't say ditto.
I think I said last video, I didn't start cursing around my mom until I was 24, like last year, because that's just how she raised me as well. Like, you don't talk, I talk crazy to my mom, don't get me wrong, as a teenager. And that's just because of, you know, who you hang around with. It falls back on you. But some of that stuff that I see other people do, I'm like, I don't know how your head is still intact with your shoulders, because
no, thank you for sharing that, Britt. And I guess I do have a question for you, and I can definitely correlate and relate to, you know, having a strict mom and always wanting to be close. Like, I was attached to my mom's hip too. Like, when the kids were playing and stuff like that, like, I just wanted to be with the grownups. Like, I guess, I don't know. I thought I was more mature than I was, but then you realize, like, when you think you're as grown, it's kind of when you need your parents the most, because you're making stupid decisions. And if our parents made us comfortable enough to go to them and talk to them, maybe half the decisions that we did make growing up, half of that stuff wouldn't have happened. But I think a lot of parents are so stuck up on being strict that they don't realize how closed off they're coming, and that they're not allowing themselves to be an open outlet to their kids. Because I was scared of my mom at a lot of times. Like, I was scared to tell her stuff. And because of her reaction, because of her being a Haitian woman, like, you tell them one thing that they don't like, is boom, boom. I'm like, damn, sis. Like, I didn't even get the full thought out. But now that I did, I don't even want to hear what you feel me. I don't even want to say what I had to say. But I just did have a quick question for you. I know that you mentioned that your grandfather's dad kind of instilled racism in him. So I'm like, did your grandfather ever put you in a position where you felt like he was blatantly racist towards you?
Never. He accepted my father. He, like, okay, so my brother and I, my older brother, we do have different fathers. That was the first, you know, man that my mom's dealt with. And actually, I think my father was the first man, but he was, you know, comes after. He got the first kid. He accepted him. I think they did have fallouts. It took a while, but he did accept him. And then he had no issues with my dad, as far as I know. And then I don't know. I think it was just everything. He had to. That's his daughter. You know what I mean? He had to accept what she comes with. He couldn't really. He did at one point kick her to the curb, but it was like, you know, it's my daughter. I can't do her like that. At that point, I feel like you're, as a teenager, because she was a kid, you're too far gone. So I don't know. I guess he just become used to it. He had, you know, as my grandchildren, I can't treat them differently because of who, you know, I mean, I don't know how he sees it. He loves us to death, and I know he does. He loves my husband. Every time I go see him, you know, bring him over. Where is he at? You know, like, I think he's just changed overall throughout the years, and he realized certain things. And God rest his soul, my grandfather, you know, even though he wasn't biologically our, you know, his real dad, he still took care of him. He still took care of my mother. He still loved us as well, and never ever once did me or my brother feel out of place. Even like during family events when the family would all come together, and you know, we're the only two Black people. Like, and although it doesn't, my brother's darker than me. He's a lot darker than me, but although we may not look like it, it still feels some type of way, because for us at least, I don't know about them, they never showed it, but for me it was just like, okay, I do have a whole Black family, and I'm, you know, I did spend some holidays with them, my grandmother and whatnot, but when I'm with my white ones, it was kind of like weird a little bit, but then you get used to it and it's like whatever. um However, like I said, there's always that little bit of, you know, what if they secretly feel some type of way about me because, you know, I'm Black? But it's never been like that. My grandfather's never showed an ounce, a tiny bit of racism towards us. So
that's good. And it's like your existence and your mom's choice to, you know, date outside her race and have a baby with someone out her race, like you being born, you and your brother being born, has allowed another man's perspective to change. So I think that's amazing. Even if they're like, oh, you know, they don't have to tap Black Lives Matter on them, but it's still like, these are my grandchildren, and if I'm to go to bat or something like that, like I'm going to protect them, regardless if they're not 1,000% Sicilian. You feel me? So I think that's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
I definitely.
Juju. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead, baby. You
done? Go ahead, Ju.
How my nationality affected me growing up. I wouldn't say that it affected me much, like around where I grew up, because my neighborhood, I grew up with a bunch of Hispanics around me. I could agree with you guys on the strict part because, like I've said in previous podcasts, my grandmother was very, very strict about where I was going, what I was doing. She was just strict about everything overall. So yeah, I wouldn't really say that it affected me growing up, because I feel like I grew up pretty normal, because I feel like Hispanics grow up the same, even though
like what's normal,
even though we don't like, even though we don't, I just feel like we all grew up the same. I grew up with my grandmother though, and she was very strict. I didn't grow up with my parents, so being under her household, it was her way or no way. Especially when it came to me and my sister, she did not play about our whereabouts at all. We had to be home we didn't have to be home all the time, but if she ain't like where we was going, then we wasn't going. Then it did get to a point where, like Brittany said, oh, I'm going to her house. Oh no, she coming to my house. Yeah, I had to go. So yeah, that's what I have to share.
Yeah. Ju, how different do you think your life would have been growing up with your Puerto Rican parents?
Honestly, I think I would have had a lot more freedom with my parents. I feel like because there was a point where like we would go stay with my parents over the weekend, like around when probably I'm not sure what age we started doing that at, but up until high school we were doing that. And then you know, me and my sisters, we started working, and so we just kind of like, my grandma was taking us to work, so we would, you know, start staying with her on the weekends pretty much the whole every day. So we stopped like going to my parents, but when we were at my parents, I had a lot more freedom, like a lot more freedom, like
so like God knew.
Mm-hmm.
So God knew to keep you with your grandma.
In high school, my parents gave me like a little bit more freedom to like go stay with my friends and, you know, have friends come over. They were like very strict about like I could only stay at my cousin's house up until I was like probably 16, 17. Then I was able to stay at my best friend's house, but that was it. There was like no way around that. But
do you feel like you wish, like sometimes do you feel like you wished it was like that growing up, or are you like very content with how it is with your grandma?
I do wish that I did have a little bit more freedom growing up, but I mean, who doesn't wish
Right.
Me
he had a
too.
little
Me
bit
too.
more freedom growing up? Um, but then again, like I had to understand why my grandma was the way that she was, like
Especially you growing up in Philly, like
because
she's trying to protect you.
yeah, because I feel like I guess my grandma feels like if you're not, now I wouldn't say controlled, but if you're not on point with where you have to be at, then why should you be able to do whatever you want?
Yeah.
So like her thing was always like, make sure your school grades are right first before you do anything. Because if you're not doing this, then you're not going there, or you're not doing this, or you can't do that. Like my
Yeah.
grandma was being strict
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, so I do wish I had a little bit more freedom, but I'm not mad at the way that I grew up. Like I'm not mad at it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think sometimes like we kind of take advantage. Like you don't realize all the times that your parents did let you go out, or your grandparents did let you go out. Like I know we weren't allowed to do much, but when we did get good grades, like all three of us though, we all three of the girls had to get good grades. My mom, she would just drop us at the movie theater, like, all right, I'll pick you guys up later. I'm like, oh, we lit. You know what I mean? So it's like the little moments that we kind of take for granted. You're like, damn, she did kind of show us what you do good, what rewards come after that. So it's like, what makes you want to go out if your room not clean? If your grades aren't good, if your homework's not done, like what makes you think that you deserve to go out? So like I kind of appreciate that our parents kind of raised us in that kind of sense, because now it's like, now for me, now I'm like, if I had a good day at work or something, I should reward myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I did good, I should reward myself. I should have a drink, glass of wine, whatever it is. So it kind of teaches you that. And just grew up in a real tough household. Period.
I also want to appreciate that if you ever notice, a lot of times, I don't know about y'all, but for me and for a lot of people I know, a lot of times when we lied to our parents about where we were, like being at so-and-so's house, we were here, and we ended up going to a party or something, no good came out of it.
No.
Never.
Ever.
Like, and sometimes, yeah, it's lit. It's lit. But it's always something that puts you in a situation that, like, damn, I should listen to my mom. I should stay home, or I shouldn't be here right now. And I've had a lot of those moments, and I wish I would have listened to my mother. And those are the times where I really appreciated her parenting. So
if my mom was watching this right now, she would exclamation, 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 exclamation. Okay. Cause she like, oh, okay, guys.
yeah.
Okay. If my grandma sees this, she probably gonna be like, where the hell she was lying about?
I came out to my mom that I was a bad young bull maybe like 2 years ago. When I'm out her house, she not paying none of my bills, none of it. Okay, you come clean when the time is right. You feel me? None of us live with our parents. We could come clean.
I'm still low key telling my mom certain stuff.
My dad,
come clean.
My dad put 2 and 2 together real quick, and my mom and my aunt, they all put 2 and 2 together. But
you
my
know why though? Because they did it. Your grandmother so much, that's the older generation, so they were more like strict. Their parents were the way that she raised you. Your parents and your aunt, they were more a little bit lenient, and they put 2 and 2 together faster, because if you think about it, they're like 20 years older than us, like,
yeah,
they did this, like my mom
been there, done that.
Everything, like she pull up on me at random spots too, like, bro, how do you know I'm here?
Like little spots.
Oh wow.
Yes, because she knows. And I'm like, bro,
my mom only pulled up one time, and I'll never forget. I was actually talking about it last night. But my thing is, your siblings too really do play a big part in how you get caught up in the bullshit.
Oh no,
okay,
my sister had my back.
She knows. Your sister had your back, you said, Julie?
What? My little sister, we planned this whole thing out, and it worked.
I wish.
My little sister had my back. My little sister had my back. I don't think I told my older sister. I don't know if I told my older sister. I don't think I did. It was this whole, I made up this whole lie for school. It was funny as shit. Now that I think about it, my mom and dad, like, that's where you was
why?
at?
Just why?
You was at?
Yo, real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
So one time I skipped school and they must have called her or something. While I'm at this park is Watson Williams. This is where sometimes when you skip school we go or we just end up in random spots. Why I'm scared as hell. I'm not answering my phone. She's blowing my phone up. Why I see her fly by, like legit, like, and I see it on her like the way she driving. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm legit hiding behind a fucking tree. This lady, a tree, is circling. Like she's circling. I see her going up and down. Oh, yo, she was looking, and I was so scared.
You had him behind trees, bushes, whatever you could
did you get caught?
Huh?
Did you get caught?
I had to go home at one point.
I know, but she didn't catch you in the park.
Nah, after that I did, but there's so many.
Before, I definitely feel that when your parents are like, sis, did you really just pull up? Like, damn, I'm caught up. But before I ask my question, I just definitely want to say, like, oh my goodness, I'll never forget this one time. Like my older sister, she at murder stops at Michelle. I don't give a damn. You feel me? Like, I don't care. Michelle, you know damn well what part that you played. Okay, if you're watching this, you know damn well. But my sister used to really like not throw me under the bus, but pretend like she didn't know me. Like she would really act like she's not home. She's not at the library. Oh, when I told her the whole plan. Okay, so sis, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. You feel me? Never. Like she had my back, but she didn't really have my back because she was always looking out for herself. Like, oh, this gonna get me in trouble? Oh, I don't know the girl. I'm like, what?
If she knew where you were,
she knew everything. She knew everything. But I promise you, Michelle would pull up and act like, I'm so shocked by your actions. I'm like, that.
My sisters would be like, you stupid. I'm not coming for you. You stupid. Don't do it. Don't do it. And as soon as my grandma asks a question, oh yeah, she did. She telling my whole. She's not telling all me, but she telling my fake story. She had my back the whole time.
That's look, must be nice. My little sister, she would listen. She like, look, don't mention me and nothing, and we good. So I'm like, you had the one snitch.
That's why I wish I had siblings like in my household because.
Girl, I think it's a one woman show is probably better than a whole bunch of other people trying to get the same story because somebody gonna lie. Lies just, for me, you get caught up in the lies. So I'm kind of glad that you were by yourself.
I had caught up in my own lies.
But ladies, with the topic of talking about how our nationality shaped us as the woman we are, I kind of want to bring it back and ask, what does your friend groups look like when you guys were younger, and what do they look like now? So like who was in y'all groups? You know what I mean? Were they Black? Were they Latino? And how did that kind of shape you? You know what I mean? Your friend groups and who you were around. So Drew, you want to answer?
My group of friends pretty mixed when I was younger and still mixed now. I have a bunch of Black friends, Hispanic friends. I'm pretty sure when I was younger in like elementary school, I had like Asian friends. Like my friend group is just mixed. And as for right now, my friend group is still mixed. Like I still have Black friends, Hispanic friends, white friends. So I would say, yeah, it's always been pretty mixed. I've never just stuck to one type or group of friends. It's always been pretty mixed. So yeah.
That's what's up. Did any of your friends growing up be like, damn, Julie, like your grandma drunk?
Well, when I was in high school, I used to like, people used to be like going out after school to like, I would say they would go out to eat or something, or just meet up with their friends and stuff, and I wouldn't be allowed. Like at all.
I'll see y'all tomorrow.
I don't think they would say anything. I don't think they would care like to say anything like, oh, your grandma drawing, but like I think my best friend knew. I used to tell like, you have best friends, you tell certain friends like everything like they be going on at home. They be like, yo, she's drawing, like what's wrong with her? Like, yeah, so I had a couple of friends tell me my grandma's drawing, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you had that one friend that always said like, your parents drawing. Like,
real quick, I think I have I feel like I know what it means, but that's definitely not New York slang. So what does that mean?
Oh,
what drawing and like
go ahead, Julie. What does drawn/drawlin mean?
like acting corny.
Okay, so that's what I
Like, you
figured.
acting corny, but like you acting nutty.
It's out of
like,
pocket. Like
yeah,
you,
out of pocket. Like that's drawing. Like
Okay,
let me
that's
see.
I mean,
What's a New York term? Like bugging.
yeah,
Bugging.
she's wilding out. She's
Wilding.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
That's funny. I just had to, because I figured, but I'm like, let me.
Girl, I didn't learn that word till 2016 when I went to college with Philly people. Okay, and I live in Philly, and now that's just a part of my regular dialogue. You drunk, okay?
Then again, back to that question. Sometimes, like I said, I will lie about where I was at, so
They know.
they ain't know she wasn't drawing then. But
They ain't know
if I wasn't allowed to go, she probably would have been drawing. So
I would understand why.
Video, I'm about to go in there and my husband be like, yo, you drawing right now. What?
Not you trying to be cool.
No facts.
But Britt, our mixed sister, what was your friend group like growing up, and what does it look like now, and why do you think like your friend group looks the way it looks, or like what are your thoughts on that?
I've never had a certain type. Like it's pretty much how Drew said hers was. I grew up around a ton of different races. Growing up in Amsterdam, I literally was surrounded by Spanish people. So at a certain point in my life, it was all Spanish people, and some Black people, but it pretty much was all Spanish people. Then I went and I did live with my grandmother for like a year, and that's when like I started hanging around the white people, because there was like literally, including me and 3 other mixed girls and 1 Black dude at the school there. So I had to have white friends. Not saying that was a problem. I like all people. Is if you're cool, you're cool. It's your vibe, you know. And once I moved back here, I started connecting with family members and whatnot. So it was Black people, white people, Spanish people, Asian people. One of my good friends, we don't really talk much now, but a few years ago, Asian, well, she's Cambodian. And now I have a Black friend who is also Puerto Rican, and I have a what the fuck is she? She's something. She's Latina, but she's Ecuadorian and Salvadorian, I think. So yeah, I mean, I've never had just one race, and I prefer it that way as well, because you get to see how other people grew up, how other people their way of life, pretty much. It's interesting as well. And I just always, I pick up vibes a lot. And if I'm cool with you, I'm cool with you. In high school, I was never the type that just wanted to hang out with popular people. You know what I mean? Like, I always wanted a variety. You could be a lame. I don't care if you cool. You cool. That's that.
No, I feel that. On definitely, like, it makes you appreciate not only other people's culture, but appreciate what you have at home, because a lot of people don't have what you have, and you don't have what a lot of other people have, and that's okay sometimes.
Yes.
So yeah, I would definitely say, so my first friend ever, y'all, growing up was a little white girl. Y'all ever seen the movie Matilda?
Yeah.
She looked just like that. You feel me? So
now that you say that, you kind of look like the Matilda.
No. Oh my gosh. Her friend?
Yeah, her friend, the little
black girl.
Yes.
I'm cracking up.
Matilda's the white girl.
No. So like, Matilda's the little white girl, but her best friend was Black, and that was us. You feel me? That literally was us. And so her name was Jessica. Shout out to Jessica. She's doing great things. Like, fast forward 20 years later in our life, and I'm just still super proud of the woman that you are, even if we don't talk every day. Love you to death. But so growing up, first of all, my dad, when we first moved to Poconos, built us this huge house in the woods, no neighbors. So our only neighbor was Jessica, and she lived like maybe a mile away. And that was really the only house. Like, Jessica was always at our house. and she would always go everywhere with us. Like everyone always looked at my dad like, hey, yo, like this little girl call you daddy and stuff. Like, what's up? Because she was a little white girl. But it definitely allowed me to see the difference between us. Like Jessica she had everything. Okay. Sis had her clubhouse, her tree house was a Barbie doll house. You know what I mean? Like she had every costume known to man, like every Disney princess costume, whatever. So like every time I went to her house, it made me appreciate like, oh shoot, like you really have the ultimate little girl kind of dream. And not that I was jealous of her, but I was also like, it was interesting to see how different lives that we lived. First of all, I have strict Haitian parents and you have full-on white parents, and the dynamic was different. You feel me? Things were different. Like the way they spoke to each other was different. Jessica was allowed to be like, no, I don't want to go home. No, Jessica would hide. She would hide all over our house so that her mom, always hide in the same spot. You feel me? Like,
absolutely.
But it was to the point I was just like, damn, I'm not even allowed to talk back, let alone cry and say I don't want to go home. So it was just like, yo, she's the first person that allowed me to realize that we grew up different. So then when I left there and I went to a new school district, that was like kind of culture shock to me, because now I was going to school with more Black people, a little bit more Black people, but it was diverse. So I did have a diverse group of friends. But now, as I'm older, the only time I find myself having friends that don't look like me is if I met them through a professional setting. So like in college, if you are white or not of color, I met you through one of the jobs I had. Yeah, one of the jobs I had. And not saying that I didn't want white friends. It's just that's not who attracted me, or that's not the people that were coming my way, unless it was through work or a professional setting. So my friends now, they're mostly Black and Hispanic. And I feel like a lot of times that's who I feel comfortable with. Not saying that I would never have, or I'm not close to somebody who doesn't look like me, but it's like, why do we tend to attract kind of the same kind of people? You know what I mean? Like I could talk to anybody, you feel me? But it's like, I feel comfortable, and not saying I don't feel comfortable, but in a lot of instances, I feel that sometimes I feel closer to the women that could kind of relate to and kind of walk in my shoes, the day of life of a colored woman. And so I just think that once we get older, it allows us to think a lot and be like, oh, shoot, how come I am closer to only Spanish women and Black women? Like, you know what I mean? So it just kind of makes you realize a lot of things. But I do love all women of all shapes, sizes, colors. It's just, when you really look at your friend group, it's like, what's missing? There's nothing missing. It's just kind of perspective. Like, these are the people that you feel most comfortable around. Maybe not because they're Black, Spanish, or whatever. It's because we can relate to each other so much. So I just wanted to ask that question because I think it kind of ties into, I know what we're kind of going to touch on next, but it's just super important to realize the company that you keep around and how they affect you and your growth as a woman.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I agree with you when you said you attract a certain type, because even my Asian friends that I had grew up in the hood, hang around all Black people, like that's the type of friends that I've always had. And I like it that way, because like you said, you can relate to a lot of them. And also, not only that, I like being more in touch with that side of me. I feel like when I'm looked at, let me just mention, white people know that I'm not white. And I don't know what it is, but they know. So when people come, people say,
Britt, you do not like a white woman. You feel me? That's a part of your identity, but I'm sorry, straight on, you don't like no.
But listen, when I'm talking to a Black person who don't know me, I get it all the time. People that don't know me, I've had people tell my husband he needed to marry a Black woman. Excuse me, you don't know me,
But Britt, what do you have for us? I know we all like to ask our questions, but what you got?
Well, I guess the support. So with the friends that we all are talking about, or had in the past or we have now, do you feel like they like stuck up for you as or not stuck up for you? Do you feel like they were truly supportive of you? And do you feel like even though they weren't the same race as you as well, do you feel like you were completely supportive of them, if that makes sense?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. So I answer first. I do feel like my friends supported me, and to be honest, I've always supported my friends, period. Because if you're my friend, you're my friend. Like, I'm not gonna call somebody that's not my friend doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do feel like then and now it's the same. Like, my friends still support me, like, no matter what. Like, I can text my friends what I want to do, and they're all gonna go ahead and tell me, you know what, go ahead, try it, see if it works out for you. As long as you try. Like, my friends are very supportive in every way. Supportive mentally, physically, emotionally. I have a great group of friends, and I'll always support my friends. Like, no matter what they want to do, I'm going to support you, even if it doesn't work out. If you tell me you want to do something or anything, you tell me something in confidence to help you, I'm going to support you and help you through whatever. Like, that's the type of person I am. I'm very caring of who I call my friends, of who I call sis, bro. Like, I'm very picky with that. So yeah, I do definitely support my friends, and I know for a fact my friends support me for me, not what I look like, not for what I do. So yeah, Michaela.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely interesting. And I think there's two different types of support. So there's a support that you mentioned, Ju, where it's like, oh, look, I'm starting my own business, like Juju's Kitchen. Like, hey, share, follow, like that's one support. But I think another support is like, do your friends emotionally support you? So I think for me, there was a lot of ups and downs growing up. I told y'all I moved to another school. I was a new kid. And I just so happened to be the new kid when the earthquake in Haiti happened. So on every news site that you're seeing Haitian people in their darkest times. You feel me? Their whole entire country was shaken up, and millions of people, they're dying, and they don't have their homes anymore. People are literally eating mud. You feel me? To get by. Kids right now still in Haiti are eating mud. You feel me? Because it's their only source of nutrition. You feel me? So like, for a lot of Americans, it was their first time seeing Haitian people. And even though that's not what all Haitian people look like, it's what was shown on TV. You're showing people in their most vulnerable state being in an earthquake. So when people found out I was not only the new girl, but I'm the Haitian girl as well, and these people that I was getting close to, and I know they didn't mean it. And when you're younger, kids are mean, you know what I mean? So I definitely experienced not feeling supported. Like, people would literally make fun of me because I was Haitian. And it was crazy. I think I went through that for quite some time, and I felt like I was alone at times. So it's like, damn, even though you're not Haitian, you are still of color, and your parents are still from an island, like at least an island. So it's like, damn, how can you even kind of belittle me for being my identity? I didn't choose to be Haitian, but if God gave me the choice to be reborn, I would still choose to be a Haitian American. You know what I mean? So when I was younger, there was a period where I felt like I was just alone, and I didn't feel the support. So people who were calling me friend and stuff like that, I was like, I didn't really feel it. I just didn't feel it because y'all didn't see my whole identity. And I, like, being a Haitian has a huge part to do with me and the woman that I am. But so that was kind of childhood, and I kind of got over that. But then when you get older, and the past 2 years that we've experienced, first of all, our whole life, especially with all the police shootings, police brutality, and just the race war that it feels like we're in, sometimes I feel like those who didn't look like me, like my white friends and stuff like that, they were weird when it came to, should I post this Black Lives Matter thing? Should I actually support my Black friends? So I felt like it felt a little weird for them. But then I'm also like, do I defend my friends when they speak their mind and somebody calls them a Karen or something like that? So it makes you kind of think like, the people that you keep around, you want them to be able to, no matter what happens, no matter what you look like, what they look like, you want them to have your back. So not only support my business, but it's like, be there for me to support me when I'm emotional. Like when shit really gets to the ground, like if we're at a not a riot, but if we're at a protest or something like that, are you going to march with me? Are you going to judge me for going? It's like, can you sit by me in my identity? So I think that's what makes a true friend. So even though my friends aren't necessarily Haitian, they support me, and they emotionally will be there if anybody has to question or go against my identity. So I don't know. It kind of was up and down, but I overall do feel like my friends support me, the ones that look like me, the ones who don't. Especially all the roles that I had to play on campus. Like everyone knew, like I'm the president of Black Culture Society. So a lot of people who weren't even Black who attended, you know, just having that support there, like sitting there, even though they know, hey, I'm not Black, but I want to experience, you know, the culture, what people go through and things like that. So it's definitely been interesting. It's been interesting seeing how your friends who don't look like you support you. So shout out to people who are allies of people of color. And I don't just mean, hey, I have a Black friend. It's, hey, I have a Black friend and I've talked to them about what it is that they go through. And I know that we're different. Like, shout out to y'all.
And you're not using the I have a Black friend card to get by and or to say slick stuff and get away with it because, oh, I have a Black friend, I could say that.
That you respect me in every way behind closed doors and in front of my face.
Yes.
Like I'm talking about at your dinner table. I'm sorry, Jew. I'm like at your dinner table. Like, are you defending me when your parents are talking about, oh, Black people deserve everything that's going on to them and stuff like that? Like, are you defending me to your parents? Are you defending me to pop grandma? Like, what are those conversations that are being had when I'm not in the room? You know what I mean? Like just knowing that somebody has your back regardless.
Yeah, especially because if you're friends with somebody, you hang out with each other. So how would I feel walking into a house that does not accept me? You can accept me, but do they know that you accept me the way you do? Like, or do they feel like you're just dragging me along because for whatever
and
reason?
Please give me the heads up. Please give me the heads up. Yes, if your parents don't fuck with Black people, like, please let me know so I can save a goddamn trip.
I don't want to be in your house. I don't want to be in your car. I don't want to be around you. We can hang out in school if I feel comfortable even doing that, because that's just weird. I mean, you hear about the story of the lady these are grown adults going and having a little sleepover. I think they were football moms or whatever, and the lady died. She ended up dead. Like,
yeah,
that's not something you should feel comfortable. You know, I want to know, like, listen, these people don't mess with you. Let's just, you know, go this way, they go that way. I defended you. They don't want me in that group no more. That's cool. I'm going this way. Like,
that's cool. But don't put me in uncomfortable situations. Go ahead, Ju.
They actually ruled that case no foul play, I believe I read.
That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And how about like a couple years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, when they were having a sleepover, little girls were having a sleepover, and one of them thought it would be funny to like put the boiling hot water over the Black girl's face while she was sleeping, like pour boiling hot water over her. You feel me? And thought it was a joke. Like, can you imagine? I let my kid go to your house. I didn't even want her to go to your house. And she comes back with how many every degree burns all over her body. Like, oh, it's just a lot. Like, mind the company that you keep, period.
Even visioned, like, I knew one day I'm going to have a Black daughter. You
do have a Black daughter.
No, I don't, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I knew one day I was going to have a Black daughter, because that's who I'm with a Black man. I have always liked Black men, and that's just how it was. So even though I never feared my daughter's life ever until now, like I hear the stories, and I feel like you hear it more because now social media is so big. But I don't think I've ever thought stuff like this. And I think about, like, damn, am I going to be that mom that doesn't let my daughter go anywhere because of this? Like, I tell my husband all the time, it's going to be one of those situations. Yeah, your brother has to come with you. He's like, no, we're not doing that. Yes, we are. And I mean, I might get out of it, and the world might change. It might, but I just feel like that's how. And I know, like, this is probably something that a lot of kids are like, no, don't do that, because you're gonna ruin their life. But that I can't help it, because stuff like that scares me, and I'll go to prison for the rest of my life. So please teach y'all kids.
That's a whole nother conversation about this generation and how different children are, because they're being exposed to so many different things. But I think that was a great way to wrap up today's conversation. Like, Woman Enough just wants all of you ladies at home, all of you men, ladies, whoever is watching, whoever supports us, just know that we support you. Like, this is not a Black woman's podcast. This is not only if you have a little bit of melanin in you, should you be tuning in to Woman Enough. No, Woman Enough is for every woman who needs to be reminded. Every woman who needs to be reminded that they are enough. If you identify as a woman, okay? If you identify as a woman, like, this is the podcast to watch. We don't discriminate against any size, colors,
biologically
shapes.
Or not.
Okay, biologically or not. If you identify as a woman, I don't care what you look like. You bring yourself to Woman Enough podcast and you remind yourself, answer all these questions, like the questions that we ask each other, y'all, during the pod. Sit and take a moment, either during the video, after the video, remind yourself, like, answer these questions. And I promise you're gonna feel better about and appreciate where you come from. The people that raised you, just a whole bunch of things. And I hope it just allows you guys to grow. But Woman Enough podcast just wants you to know that you are enough. Okay. We don't give a rat's booty what you look like. Okay. Just tune in, and the love is always going to be here.
If you feel comfortable, please share. We always want to hear, like, any stories. We always want to hear similarities. We always want to hear if you are, hey, I want to hear about Jamaicans. Like, that's in me. That's my blood. I want to know how y'all grew up. I want to know how Chinese people grew up, Cambodian people. I know a little bit of how Cambodians, but just any walk of life that is different from what we have talked about today. Let us know. I'm very interested, actually.
You can comment under our videos. You can DM us on Instagram. Reply
all
to
of it.
Stories. DM us individually if you want. I don't know. But yeah, y'all follow us on every platform at Woman Enough Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and like Brittany said, please share with us. Anything you guys want to add on? Anything?
Yes. Follow IBT Network. Well, you'll see Cooking with Ju. You feel me? Juju's Kitchen.
12 p.m. every Sunday. 12
and I'm gonna say this every single time until I get it.
I need a gluten-free meal for Brittany is coming very soon.
I got y'all with Cecilia. I got y'all.
Gluten-free video.
Yes, but please tune in. IBT Network is great, has so many great platforms, great channels, so great series actually. So please tune in. And until next time, remember that you are woman enough. We love you. We got you. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.